Okay, so Nick, you want to talk us through our forecast for the week? We're going to start with the Cleveland-Jacksonville game. I got that one right. I'm going to bring up, I have our weather table up on the screen. So we have the Cleveland-Jacksonville game, and we are seeing a caution. This one is really the one that's really popping out this week with the caution. So, Nick, why don't you walk us through what we're seeing here?
Yeah, we're showing a caution mainly because we're showing a precipitation falling in each 3 hours of the game. But it's not a lot of precipitation. It's only 0.03 of an inch in total right now. That could change a little bit. But we basically have two systems which are going to affect either Jacksonville or Philadelphia later in the week throughout football this week. So if you can pull up the weather maps.
The weather map. Yeah, sure. Gotcha. Yep. So here.
And go ahead.
So here's the weather map the precipitation map that we're looking at, and I have it set at 18Z. So, Nick, you want to walk us through?
Yeah, so Cleveland is playing Jacksonville, and it's kind of an interesting event here. Effectively, what the models are showing is kind of like a warm front feature draped across northern Florida. So we have this system, low pressure system, which is going to be moving from west to east across the Gulf. And at this frame, the strongest part of the system, the strongest rain is really over Louisiana, Alabama area. And the question is whether or not there's going to be a warm front feature that extends across northern Florida. And if it does, is it positioned perfectly above Jacksonville for it to be raining most of the game? Or is it just kind of going to be this weak stratiform rain, which really just is drizzling in pockets across northern Florida? Now, both of the models, the American and the European, are hinting at this feature. They're showing different timing and different rainfall events. Overall, we'll know a lot more probably Saturday about what this thing is going to do. I'm leaning towards this being a low risk, low impact event. I don't think it's going to be a heavy rainfall, heavy thunderstorms, or anything like that over Jacksonville. I think it's going to be this really weak rain, and it's going to have to be positioned perfectly over the stadium for a long duration event for this to really impact this game. Sean, you may feel differently, but that's my call.
This is a good time to just put a little plug. Like Nick said, it could change. Saturday may be better with information. Follow us at FFWeatherguys on Twitter. We'll be tweeting about it. Sean, now go ahead with your opposing.
Yeah, no, I think Nick brings up a really good point here, and it's really the location and the timing of where this front really starts to form, and if there's adequate moisture and if the boundary sets up in time to bring precipitation to that Jacksonville location. Now, if that rain band or that boundary does set up, I do think that rain can last throughout the game. It may not be incredibly heavy precipitation, but a precipitation that lasts throughout the game we've seen before does potentially have some effects. So, Nick, do you want to bring us through? Looks like you have a Plume up here, forecast Plume of precipitation for Jacksonville. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the European model's forecast Plume. So effectively, where you see these blue lines, each one of these blue lines is an individual forecast. The European model has 50 ensemble members in its prediction system, so it issues 50 forecasts twice a day. Actually, it does it 4 times a day now. So we're looking at the most recent run of all of those 50 individual forecasts and where they're showing the precipitation, how much accumulated over a 6-hour period in Jacksonville. So I've got on the y-axis there a line that denotes the 0.25 inch mark, which is 1/4 of an inch fallen over a 6-hour period. The numbers are in millimeters per 6 hours, Europeans and how they are. But there's your reference line for imperial units.
In the entire world but us.
Hey, our soda is metric.
It is. You're right. Can I? Yeah.
It's the only industry. All right. So what this black circle is right about game time. So you can see in this graph there really aren't a lot of blue lines that are hitting that 0.25 inch mark. There's maybe one or two. Most of the ensemble members are saying the heaviest rain is going to fall later on Monday, after the game time, well into the next day, when that low pressure system actually starts to strengthen over the Gulf and move its way up the East Coast. So overall, the ensemble is fairly confident that if there is any rain over Jacksonville, if we do get this warm frontal feature, it's really not going to be heavy, and the precipitation amounts are likely to be pretty tame, pretty low, less than a quarter of an inch over 6 hours, or less than a tenth of an inch over the length of a football game.
So, Sean, what are we seeing for maybe some potential player impacts? Like you said, Cleveland really likes to, ground and pound the ball. So, Nick Chubb, Kamara this week again?
Well, yeah. So, again, we don't anticipate this to be an event like Cleveland experienced last week, where we had, I think, almost a third of an inch or a quarter of an inch of rain that fell during that period of the game. Now, we could have rain that lasts throughout the game, but it's not going to be incredibly heavy. But yes, the tendency from Cleveland right now is to go toward the running game where they have a little bit more confidence. So some of the receiving options, like an Austin Hooper, like a Jarvis Landry, if we do see persistent rain, yeah, you'll see them get targets, but we just haven't seen them get the volume needed to have a real sustained impact for in your fantasy lineup, right? So I would anticipate Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb to have another big game this week, going against a very poor Jacksonville defense, both passing and rushing. And so they could get some big numbers for you again this week. Now, on the other side of the ball, I don't know about you. I'm not trusting Glennon. They're not starting Minshew. They're not starting Lutton anymore. They're going with Glennon. And I just don't know what this guy's going to do in this offense. Is he going to go to DJ Chark or Keaton Cole or somebody like that? I don't know. Are they just going to be dumping it off to James Robinson? That would be my bet. I'd be going to my best offensive player right now in James Robinson, and he's been getting 20-plus opportunities just on the ground almost every game. So I anticipate them to use James Robinson. I expect him to get an increased number of opportunities. Now, what he does with those opportunities, that'll be determined. I was looking at Cleveland's rushing stats for their rushing defense, and they're ranked 8th right now, giving around 105 yards per game. So, they've been doing okay. And over the last couple games, like their last game, they gave up around just their average. So they've been giving up pretty consistently around 100, 110 yards per game. So I think James Robinson can have, maybe he's not going to win you a week, but I think he's going to give you sustained volume to have a solid, him be your solid RB2 this week.